Oh, that breeze under the bridge feels nice. All right, take a look up our second tallest building in the city of Chicago, 1,362 feet tall, Trump International Hotel and Tower. Imagine, put a building this tall on top of this one. You would then have what is the tallest building in the world, which is, anybody know where it's at? Dubai, the Burj Khalifa. It's always the people in the front row, they know all the answers. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai, 2,717 feet tall. The same architect, Adrian Smith, who did Trump in 2009, 3 setbacks to assist with wind shear, more poured concrete on the building than any in the United States to maximize window space, 472 luxury condos, and a 5-star hotel in the building. We had a famous architect named Mies van der Rohe come to Chicago from Germany in the 30s. Mies invented the less is more international style of architecture. Mies's last building over there, the AMA building, he did it in 1971. The building doesn't have much to it actually, but Mies van der Rohe is a very, very famous, well-regarded architect, and his motto was beauty in simplicity. We call these the 2 corn cobs of Chicago. This is Marina City. This residential building was the first place you could live on the downtown section of the Chicago River. It still is residential. It is currently owned also to the Chicago House of Blues. There are a couple restaurants in the building. You'll see in a moment, these people have a little marina should they wish for their boats. A number of movies filmed here. Anybody see the Blues Brothers? Yeah, a lot of you. That was filmed here. Also a 1980 movie starring Steve McQueen called The Hunter, where a stuntman drove his car off of that parking garage into the Chicago River. He survived. We have no idea where that car is. We have 37 bridges here in Chicago. They all open and close. They're what's known as seesaw bridges. One side opens, the other side, and so forth. They open primarily in May and October to let the sailboats in and out of the harbor. The city of Chicago has more movable bridges than any city in the United States. Breeze is nice. And folks, anytime you wish to walk around the boat, take pictures, feel free to do so. Our bar is open downstairs, the bathrooms are downstairs, and you're stuck hearing me, whether you like it or not, downstairs. So before all this wonderful architecture was here, the river was lined with warehouses. This was a warehouse for canned goods back in 1914, the Reed Murdoch Center. Notice they have a clock tower on that building. Why is that a big deal in 1914? Well, wristwatches were expensive in 1914. Most people didn't own one. This was a relatively tall clock tower in 1914, and that clock was prominent. It was used quite a bit for people to see what time of day it was. Right hand side, this is 300 North LaSalle, done by Picard and Chilton in 2009. This is a platinum certified LEEDs building. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Most everything in that building comes from recycled materials. They use river water for cooling needs. The city of Chicago has more green buildings than any city in the United States. And that's a good thing. And God bless you. Get your cameras out, folks. This is the second largest building in the country. The Chicago Merchandise Mart, completed in 1931, has 4.25 million square feet, 8 miles of corridor, 500 showrooms for wholesale furniture and apparel. The building was built for a man named Marshall Field. He owned a famous department store whose business motto was give the lady what she wants. Smart man, probably stayed married a long time. Anyways, his business took a turn south. The Kennedys bought this for $13 million in 1945. They resold it in 1998 for $575 million. Now they were smart enough to keep this land, Wolf Point, where they're building 3 buildings. This is the second one going up. This one will be residential. Wolf Point is a very historic part of the city of Chicago. It's where our first hotel, tavern, post office back in the day. Now, how do we get the name Chicago? Well, when the Native Americans came through here, this was all marshland filled with onion plants, and in their language, they said it smelled like Chihuahua, smelly onions. Well, our brilliant leaders at the tavern in the early 1800s said, we got to give the city a name. How about the anglicized name of Chihuahua? We are named for smelly onions. Brilliant. This dazzling building right here, River Point, is at the point of the main north and south branches of the Chicago River. On the right-hand side, this is the most talked about building in Chicago right now. This unusually designed, very narrow base, 150 North Riverside. Nothing was ever built on that land. They had a sliver of land to work with, because you've got the river right over here. The opposite side of the base, a railroad track. These folks figured out a way, drilled down into bedrock, put a complex water dampering system on the roof, and Getchin Partners designed what I think is a exquisite building on a piece of land where nothing ever was built up before. All the buildings on the right-hand side are built above the railroad. The railroad owns something called air rights. They can charge the building owner a fee each and every single year just to have the building sit in the location it's in. This building, 100 North Riverside, we are told pays the railroad in excess of $1 million a year just to have the building sit here. The railroads never envisioned the Chicago River being cleaned up. They never envisioned the demand right now for office space. They never thought they'd be making so much money on air rides. So why don't they lower our ticket prices? Yeah. Thanks for the smiles. I really appreciate it. Folks, I'm going to ask you to turn around and look at the roof of the building we just passed. There's 5 trusses up at the top of the roof. They couldn't drill piers down into bedrock on the left-hand side of that building, so that entire left-hand corner column is suspended by the trusses on the roof of that building. Pretty smart engineering. A lot smarter than me, at least in engineering. Now with the walls opened up over here, we're getting a chance to see the trains, the commuter trains. They come daily in and out from the suburbs, and Amtrak runs underneath the buildings as well. The buildings are built in a fashion, they don't vibrate from the trains, they don't smell any diesel. I grew up here. Growing up in Chicago, the neighborhood west of here was the worst neighborhood in the city of Chicago. It was called Skid Row. It was filled with winos and sleazy hotels. That same neighborhood west of here is our hottest neighborhood. It's called the West Loop. It's got many good restaurants. Google opened up an office. McDonald Corporation opened up their headquarters. And a very, very, very important person lives over there in the West Loop, my daughter. And if she's happy, I'm happy.
I love going. 가족을 잘한 것 같아요.